Hello and welcome to video. We're going to look at skill 3, which is the structure of paragraphs. Now remember, this video does work in with the booklet that we've given you, so do use the booklet to practice your writing skills and practice sentence structure as you go along. Another reminder that 50% of this GCSE for English language is based on your writing, so your writing is key and really important. So I'm going to start off by giving you a picture. This is a picture from when I went to Germany from one of my holidays, and it's a lovely little picture of a shop in Rothenburg, and it's a picture of a toy shop. So just pause the video and just think, what would you write about with this picture here if you were given this for the exam? So you've been asked to submit a piece of writing for a magazine, write a description inspired by this picture. So just pause the video and have a practice. Okay, so here's what I came up with that picture. So in my little planning, I thought the story idea I'd like to put behind this picture is probably one toy is feeling left out and it feels a little bit insecure. So you remember, you can make stuff up. If you can't quite see it, you can make it up and say that there is a little toy soldier that's hidden behind something. Do not think that this piece of writing has to be based on everything that's there. You know, it is the starting point. And the key word is inspired. It doesn't mean describe the picture. It means inspired, which means that you've looked at a picture and you've come up with something else. Okay, so then in terms of my ideas that I've come up with, so I thought we've got a soldier trying to get attention, so that could be the opening. Then I thought the other soldiers could be fighting for, other toys could be fighting for attention in this shop because it's quite busy and cluttered. And then I thought maybe we have a window reflection that shows the outside world, and then in that reflection we see a child being dragged away by his father, but at the last moment he spots the soldier, and so we've kind of got that going back to the beginning. So there's a connection and there's a bit of cohesion, a bit of glue in the writing. Now we're going to look at paragraphs. Now we might think that paragraphs are quite straightforward and easy. They're not, and they're one of the most difficult things for students to get right because they often get them wrong. And what's the problem with their writing? Well, with paragraphs we tend to get lots of rambling. And part of that rambling is called by listing of things. And what students tend to do is they just go, there's this, 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 and this, and they tend to put them in a paragraph. Now, the other thing that we have is also no sense of development. You know, and what they've got is, because of this listing, there's nothing moving on with the writing, and it just tends to be a shopping list. And nobody really wants to read a shopping list. Predictable structure, so people might say, in the shop there is this, in the window there is this, in this is this. It just very repetitive and dull and boring, and no sense of style and being repetitive. So we're going to have a look at those different things. A little bit of advice with a paragraph. Little phrase that I tend to use is tip top, and that just means helps with paragraph. Just remember to use a new paragraph each new time, place, topic and person. So tip top is one way to remember paragraphing. You do need to have paragraphs in there. In the most recent Year 11 mocks, students lost 3 grades off their overall GCSE paper by not having things written in paragraphs. Even if you're not quite sure where paragraphs should be, make sure you write in paragraphs, because that is a key defining factor for getting a clear grade. You tend to be in band 1, which is grade 1, if you don't use paragraphing. And even if you've got the most interesting writing and you haven't used paragraphs, you will still be band 1, grade 1, because you haven't got that big step up point. So paragraphs are a stepping up point from you getting from grade 1 to all the way up there. And you may have the best writing, but if you've not got paragraphs, it limits you and it takes your grade down. And I cannot say this numerous times, this is how important paragraphing is. So let's take my picture And let's take one of the ideas that I had for a paragraph, so the toys fighting for attention. And so a boring paragraph would be, we could describe the towers of toys, we could describe the Christmas trees, the animals and the soldiers. And if you just have a look, what I'm doing there is I'm just listing. And there's no connection between those different things. And that's what we notice with certainly grade 3 writing and grade 2. Their paragraphs are just lists. And that's all they're doing. They're listing. They're not doing anything clever with the things that they can spot. And actually, you don't need to mention all of those things. It's not a checklist. And that's where we've got to think about when we're coming to our writing. Now, I'm going to give you some things to memorise and some things to learn. And these are ready-made structures of paragraphs. So if you can have a look, I've got some little boxes which just give you structures of paragraphs. And what you could actually do is have a ready-made structure for your assessment. So for example, your first paragraph could be about a description of some action, and then that's leading into a description of something. Or your second paragraph could be where you say several no's, but then you say where there was something. And if you have a look at the paragraph underneath, we've got an example. No life had visited the room. No light had touched its fingers on the delicate wallpaper and fine paintings. No sounds had tickled the faded curtains and frail netting across the boarded up windows. No soul had experienced rest here. But there was one movement. So what you've got in that paragraph is you've got the negative, the opposite. So it's kind of like the opposite of description, saying what isn't there, but then saying right at the end what there is. And then the third box we've got is you describe an object, but you don't say what it is. And then right at the end, you reveal the object, what it is. So for example, here it could be a toy, and you could describe what it is. You could say that that it's green, that it sparkles, it's shiny, and then right at the end you can say it's a Christmas tree. So what you've got there is 3 structures. I'm going to show you some more structures to help you. Now, these actually help students write better because it gives you a way to organise your paragraphing. And what I would suggest you do is you learn one of these, several of these, and it helps you go in. So if you know straight away, oh, this is the way I could structure my paragraph, it gives you a number of choices and opportunities instead of just listing things. Here's some others. Okay, so what you could do is you could describe an object and then talk about the history of the object. So say, for example, you're in a room and there's somebody's left their handbag. You could describe the handbag and then you could explain the history of the handbag. So who gave the handbag to that person, and then go back to inside the handbag and describe what's inside it, all within one paragraph. And you're not describing hundreds of things, you're describing one thing, but you're giving it in depth. The other one you could do, box 2, could be describing different objects. So you describe 3 disparate, that means they're not really clearly linked together, objects. So you could talk about a mug, and you could talk about a book, and you could talk about a blanket in a room. And then the link could be, well, actually, the blanket was covering a person as they were reading a book and sipping a hot chocolate. That's the connection. And so as a reader, when you're reading your paragraph, you're going, well, what's the connection between the blanket and the mug and the book? So you're trying to work it out. The third box, describe how things used to be and how they are now. So for example, let's take our pictures of the shop. What happens, what say if we said that was 50 years time and this is an old shop and it's run down and nobody loves it and it's dusty and dirty and and people can't be bothered to do anything about it. And then you can say that actually that's how it is now. And how did it look in the past? It was beautiful, it was colourful, it was lively, people were always coming in. So you can see that change and have that kind of like, a bit like a Volta in poetry, you turn things around in it. Here's some more. Describe an object as if it was a person. Okay, so a chair, how could it be like a person? It was lazy, relaxed, calm, messy, and then right at the end, you show it's a sofa, and you kind of fooled people. Or another way you can do it, box 2 here, thinking, feeling and seeing. So, you know, what are people thinking about this place? What are they feeling about it? And then what are they seeing? Another one, sound, sound, sound. So you describe 3 different sounds, and then you reveal what's causing the sound. Okay, now this is playing with perspective. So you could be, in your picture, you could be outside the window. Paragraph, you know, the next bit in your paragraph is what's inside, and then you go back outside. Or you're zooming in and in and in. So maybe you're looking at a face on the doll, and then you zoom in on the eye, and then you zoom in on the colour of the eye and a little white dot that's in the eye itself that's been painted on. Or the opposite of that, as you zoom out. So the white dot on the doll's eye, then you zoom out on the eye, and then you zoom out onto the face, and you do that. Here are another example. This time I'm going to give you an actual written example so you can see how you can play around with the structure. So here we've got playing around with time. So a year, a month, a day ago, today. So a year ago, the beach was hidden from the world. A month ago, a boat arrived and people found this oasis of beauty. A day ago, more people arrived. Today, I discovered what had happened to my sanctuary. So you've got a little bit of sadness there because it starts off the paragraph, this being beautiful, and there's a sense of sadness at the end of the paragraph because now it's been taken away. So things have changed. So you've got that sense of perspective, that development. Another one, again, this is about perspective. This is about moving closer to things, and it's nice little sentence structure, this close, closer, closest. And you can use it in different ways. You can say, you know, near, far. So close to me was a light. It was flickering gently in the breeze. Closer still were the sounds of people laughing and chatting. Closest to me yet was the person I loved most in the world. So you can see that sense of perspective of going from really, really, you know, vague to being quite precise, and that getting better and better in terms of the emotional feelings that we've got there. Another one, near, far, near, far. Now this is another one that plays with perspective. So it's talking about what's here, and then the next sentence is what's over there, and then the next one's what's here, and then what's over there. So you can see how it works. I could hear my friends breathing behind me. The enemy was on the outskirts of the city, getting closer to us by the minute. My friends' eyes showed fear and terror. The footsteps of the soldiers echoed as they entered the city looking for us. Now, that paragraph's quite interesting because what you could do is you could have that as 2 separate paragraphs, couldn't you? You could have it as a near paragraph and a far. But this is a bit more complex and a bit more interesting because you're going through all these different perspectives. So I could hear my friend breathing. The enemy was over there. My friend's eyes showed fear. The footsteps were over there. It builds that sense of tension between those 2 things. So here's a bit of a go with this picture and with my ideas. So if you have a look here, so the toys fight for attention. So let's see how we can work on that. So bright reds, greens, yellows and blues fight for attention. Eyes big, eyes small, eyes round, all look at the window. Arms, legs, tails, swords push in front of each other. Bells clang, cogs click, mechanisms whirl. Each and every toy is fighting to be noticed, seen and hopefully desired. Now if you have a look what I've done with that paragraph, it's a lot different than probably how most people do, because what they would tend to do is to go, there's a cat, there's a doll, there's a soldier, there's a little man, and they would list the things. And what I've done is kind of link them all together and a bit more development in there. So we start from colours, then we look at their eyes, and then we look at their arms and whatever things they've got, and then we look at the sound effects, and then right at the end I've changed the overall mood, because we've gone from everything being about fighting for attention to right at the end this hopefully desired. Creates that sense of something being sad, that, you know, these poor toys, they're all trying to do it. They are fighting for attention, but actually they just want to be loved. A bit like Toy Story, isn't it, really? Reminder for you, we've got other videos, check them out on the YouTube. I would suggest that you have a look at the Build It videos, certainly, to help you get your ideas and build the sentence structure. Sentence structure is a really, really key thing, and it will help you. Now, what I suggest you do is work on revising those different paragraph structures. Miss Pierce will set you a quiz for you to do to check that you've watched the video. By all means, if you've got any questions, do contact Miss Pierce or myself on YouTube. But the one thing I want you to remember is think about the structure of your paragraphs. That is the thing that's going to make your writing better. Not lots more writing, but clever, intelligent, thoughtful structuring of paragraphs. Thank you.